Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I have David again, our special guest, and today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic, which is if you are high earner who is earning between 175,000 to 260,000 as a family, you are not going to get Elterngeld anymore. So this video is for those people who are falling in this category, and David is going to help them figure out a solution to this problem. So welcome David to the channel.
Thank you, Ashan, for having me again. And thank you also that we can make a video regarding this topic because it's a topic that is very close to my heart because families are the backbone of our society. That's what I believe in. And I believe in that the government should support families a lot. And there's been this law basically that has been passed that basically says when you as a family are making together, like in taxable income, over 175,000 in the year before you get your baby, then you're not getting any government support in terms of Elterngeld. And I find this highly unfair because, first of all, like when you have a 175 or 200K salary together, especially when you live in the big cities, like you're not rich, right? You have a good life. Yes, you're doing well for yourself, but you're far from rich, right?
No.
Especially with high rents and high prices in big cities. That's one thing. Like it's not that, okay, millionaires don't get any Elterngeld anymore. It's kind of like everyday working families, right? And the second thing is when you have such a high taxable income, then for years and years you contributed a lot to the system, a lot in taxes and in social contributions, which I find good. Right? I find our system very good that us who are doing very well basically support the people basically who are not so fortunate. I find it a very good system, right? Don't get me wrong. But we contribute the entire time, pay massive amount of taxes. And then the one time we would get government support essentially in a time where one income falls away, where it's a stressful time and all of that, getting the first child is a beautiful thing, but it's also stressful, or the second child or the third one. Then that falls away now. So that I find it highly unfair. This is a political topic. We don't need to discuss it, but like I find it highly unfair. And that's why we help a lot of clients get the Elterngeld, even though they make below that threshold, basically. But that requires long-term planning. Right? So you cannot just say, oh, now the child is there, basically. We made over the threshold. Now what can we do? And you can do nothing. You need to plan this ahead. Right? Because essentially what counts for the Elterngeld is your taxable income in the year before you get the baby. That's what counts.
Okay.
And your taxable income is not your salary. Your taxable income is your salary minus all the deductibles. So for example, all your social contributions that you do on like health insurance, Rentenversicherung, Arbeitslosenversicherung, so that is all deducted. So you can already deduct like 15 to 20% of yourself. Right? We can calculate that then individually, right? But what you can also deduct is private pension. It's tax deductible private pension. So a base pension is the name of the specific product. We already made a couple videos regarding that. Ashan and I, feel free to watch them, how that in general works. But it's a tax deductible private pension. And what we typically do with clients when they know, okay, next year, for example, you're getting a baby. So first, congratulations. And then basically when you're, okay, this could be close being above or below the 175, then we plan this and basically see that we make this year big contribution to the base pension that lowers your taxable income. Of course, you should also do something long-term for retirement. Just a note, please understand that we only can take clients who also do a monthly contribution for the long term, not just the one time to save the Elterngeld, because it always has to be a long-term strategy. But it's a very powerful strategy, essentially, to make a lump sum contribution in the year, basically, and then getting below the 175 in order to get the Elterngeld. Because the money is not gone, it goes directly into your retirement. You saved it for you, essentially.
So you said that, so this way you add a huge lump sum in the previous year when the baby is going to be born. So here are two questions that come to mind. Number one, let's say someone contributed to this kind of pension plan, they reduce their taxable income, the baby comes, they start getting the Elterngeld. And what happens like after that? Do they have to have this high amount every year, every month or whatever?
No. So what we typically do is we set like a base contribution that you say, okay, this we can always do. So for example, 500 euros. Right? This is what we can always do. 600 or 300, whatever the amount is for you. We'll figure that out. So this is what we always do with the social, what we minimum should do for retirement. But we set this as a base amount. And then in the year that you need the big tax deduction, so not just maybe 6,000 a year, but 20, 25, 30,000, this we do a lump sum contribution. So we can contribute lump sums up to certain limits. That's why Ashan said, hey, when you're above 260 as a couple, then we cannot help you with lowering it as low as you still get Elterngeld. So 260 is the threshold for that. Below that, we can help you basically make extra contributions and get you below the 175 in order that you get Elterngeld and you've done something very good for your retirement. And then later, very important, you get that as a pension.
And the second question is, so you said the salary which is in the previous year counts.
Yeah.
What about people who are expecting the child in the same year? So let's say they're expecting a child in October, November, December. So they did not know in the previous year. So how does it work for them?
No, you have, as I said, you have to plan ahead, right? When the previous year counts, and you have to plan ahead, right? So when you're expecting a baby in the year, basically, and the last tax year is already over, then there's nothing that can be done. And of course, you
Okay.
can search for other deductions and all of that. And I hope that basically you still can get below that. But other than real estate or private pension, there are no big deductions that you can do privately as a normal employee.
Okay.
Yes, you can deduct your health insurance and all of that is a standard, but there are no big deductions that come from somewhere that you can do as a normal employee. Real estate is one, and private tax deductible pension is one. And both you have to plan ahead.
Okay. You said employees. Does it also apply for people who are like self-employed or doing, let's say they have their own business, or if they're doing multiple things together, so they have an income from a job and they have a business on the side? How does it work for them?
Works in the exact same way, because what counts is the taxable income. No matter where that comes from. It can come from work, from self-employed work, from salary from your own business, really does not matter. If you have your own business, then it's very easy, then you can just lower your salary. But if you're self-employed, basically what you make is your profit in that year, right? So it falls into the same category of taxable income. So there the exact same thing applies.
As you said, the previous year counts. But let's assume there's a case where there was a family, they were earning very good and they had, let's say, 170, 180, 200K. And the year when the child is supposed to be born, that year, one of the parents lost their jobs. So let's say someone in 2025, as a couple, they were earning 200,000 euros.
Yeah.
2026 comes along, one of the person loses their salary. Let's say the father loses their job. So essentially, let's say the spouse or the wife was earning 100K and the husband was earning 100K. So this year, the wife is earning 100K and she is supposed to go on Elternzeit. So how will this be calculated? Will they still be eligible, or is it like no
that's
hard?
very bad. That specific situation is a very bad situation. It's also why I find it unfair, right? Because when one salary breaks away, then you have way less than before that, basically. So in that situation, it would have been good for them if they planned in the year before, right? If they had the foresight to plan and to actually take this topic seriously, then even if the husband loses the job, their wife gets the full 1,800 euros Elterngeld.
Okay.
If they plan that, everybody can that watches this video, right? And you know then for the future when you're getting kids. So it's very important to plan ahead, because when you're in that year and the baby's born, there's nothing that you can do.
Please hit the like button if you're getting value from this video and consider subscribing. As you said, plan ahead. So what's the, let's say, obviously the sooner the better. What's the, like, as a consultant or someone who guides people, what's the latest time that someone can watch this video and plan for the next year? Let's say, is it possible for them to watch this video on the 25th of December and get in contact? Obviously, you'll be in holidays or
I'm in
whatever. Let's say
holiday, yeah.
starting of December, let's say, if
so
they watch
when you
this video.
watch this in the beginning of December, then be real quick, because we have to do the consultation and then set the plan up and do the lump sum contribution. That's possible when you contact us in the beginning of December. But to make it smoother for everyone, plan a bit ahead. You should do a stable contribution either way. right? Also, when you're not expecting a child, just for your retirement and to save taxes, because that's a nice thing either way. But if you're in that situation that, for example, next year you're expecting a baby, then contact us as early as possible, right? Because then you have everything already set up. Then we don't need to rush anything. You don't need to rush the decision which pension you want and which version you want, because that's also a question. We present then a comparison of different plans, and you should never rush a decision like this, basically, that you see, oh, now we need to set up this plan like in the next couple of days. We need to rush this decision. Always take those decisions with a clear mind, essentially. That, as I said, like, it's important to pick a pension company and then stick with it. But as soon as you know that, I would recommend to plan. The latest, to answer your question, when it's like beginning of December, then it's really the latest. Unless I decide to go on the Maldives the entire December, then okay, there are no appointments available. But normally I go from 20th of December or something holiday. But yeah, plan ahead is what I'm saying.
And you also mentioned that there's going to be a base amount that's going to be a regular payment, and then there's going to be a lump sum amount. So, what can be the minimum base amount that you can set? What is generally, in terms of percentage, what is the recommended amount of the person's salary, and what is an amount that you will never say, okay, this is too much, I will not recommend this amount for you?
Yeah, so there is no real minimum amount. I think like the technical minimum amount is like 25 euros, but then we don't need to talk because you're obviously not serious about the retirement planning. Yeah, so like the most common contribution along our clients is 500 euros. That's the most common contribution company. When you have that kind of salary, basically, then that would be too little overall. Right? I can understand when you want to start with this. That's totally fine. When we start with this, you're getting a baby, and know then one income falls away. You have more expenses. You're getting the Elterngeld, so that's the good news. But yeah, that would be okay to start with, basically. Can also be 300 euro if you want, or 600 euro, or 800 euros. You can imagine there are certain limits on the deductions, which we will then discuss in the consultation. They also change a bit each year. But at the moment, it's 29,000 euros approximately, minus the government pension contribution. So we calculate then exactly for you how much your limit is. For example, I would never recommend someone to put 10,000 a month into this, because that would be above the limit of deduction. Right? And you cannot deduct this. And of course, this only makes sense when you can tax deduct. Right? But I always say, hey, have a good reasonable amount as a base contribution that you should always do for your retirement, no matter what. And then in the year where we really need a big deduction from your taxes, there we make some contribution. Like a government organization recommends to put 10% of your gross salary into a tax-deductible pension. So 10% always should be like the rule of thumb overall.
So, do you mean the 10% of brutto, or the pre-tax, or the post-tax
Of the brutto, because it's also a tax-deductible plan. Right?
Okay.
That you have to pay taxes on later. If you do retirement planning with a not tax-deductible plan, then 10% of your netto, because then you pay little taxes on that later. But a tax-deductible plan doesn't help you as a higher, because you want to save taxes, and for the Elterngeld, you have to save taxes.
Interesting. I think this topic is like not very well known, because this was something that I found out through you, and yeah, maybe people do a lot of research in these kind of things. So is this quite new, or has this been in the
I
pre-government?
think the law was introduced like 2 years ago, and then they changed a bit. They originally planned 150 even, but now it partially stayed at 175. Yeah, so it was like approximately 2 years ago. I don't know when you see this video, maybe then it was 5 years ago. Yeah, but thank you for addressing that people know about this, that there are the possibilities for that, because it's very important for me. And if you are in that situation, then reach out to us. We will put a link in the description. That's totally for free, no obligation whatsoever. We just calculate that for you, present you the options, and then you can see what makes sense for you, essentially. But thank you, Asham, for bringing awareness to this topic, because I think like a financial
your knowledge. It's a very difficult topic for some people.
Yeah, because I think the financial aspect is a big aspect in getting children. And I think it's very good when families know, okay, we gotta get Elterngeld, and that is a support through that time, basically. And it makes it much more easier also to say, okay, financial wise, it's an issue getting children, which is what I would really wish for Germany, that getting a child is not a financial decision, but really a personal decision.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, David, for coming. Again, I'll put a link in the description and you can use this link. So, again, David and his team are totally independent. They are not bound with a company. If you get a consultation with them, you are not bound to get an insurance with them. You can just have a consultation, but make sure that you follow the right time frame. As we discussed in this video, make sure that you plan before December or the year before that you're expecting the baby. So please do your research as well and be prepared to at least spend some time, get a consultation with David and his team members.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for bringing awareness to this, and hopefully this helps a lot of families.
Thank you for coming. So thanks for watching Black Vision, and I'll link our other discussions here and here.